Okay, so this truck has undergone a complete suspension and steering replacement. Before this truck, this is a 2009 Freightliner Cascadia, and for the past year and a half I've been having issues with the tires burning out. Now, as you see here, this is a pretty brand new tire, looks pretty good. I got it about a month ago, and you can see the tread's pretty good on this side. I'm gonna show you the other side. It's actually so new, I hit something in the road and blew it out, and I got a replacement. This is the other side's tire, and as you can see here, see how this is burnt out? Now this almost was completely gone, because if you look at the lip, you can see how much higher this lip is compared to this inner. And then as you go along, you see it gets better and better. Because what was happening was my corners were burning out, okay, on both sides. And just recently got it swapped out. Got the rack of pinion ripped out and got a standard steering gearbox put in. This was taken out of a newer Cascadia and done. It's a pretty easy job for the mechanics to do. A lot of them haven't done it, but it's a pretty straightforward job. If they did any suspension work before, basically like changing the leaf springs or anything like that, it's pretty much the same thing. So, because everything here, when you gotta pick it up, is gonna get ripped out. They're gonna want to put in, new U-bolts. But the main thing, if you have a 2009 Cascadia from 05 to 010, had the rack of pinion system, which is trash. If you look here, that's where the old spring sat. The old shock absorber, sat. It was bolted into there. Now the gearbox is bolted in there. Okay. When I went to the junkyard, also got steering shaft, because the steering shaft that I bought a year earlier for $700 from the dealer, it's not going to work with it. So you're going to need to make sure, if you get one, got to get the steering column, got to get the steering shaft, okay, and pretty much everything else is going to be pretty much stock. You're going to get a whole new, everything is going to be new. Suspension, you're going to get a whole suspension, connected with the brakes, the ABS, and all that crap. You're gonna get that a whole front end, okay? The mechanic, whoever never did it before, like I said, they might be afraid, but it's a pretty simple job. It's literally just ripping out the suspension. You're gonna have to get new U-bolts, but the main thing I'm gonna tell you right now is that this shock normally sat here is now gonna have to sit here. That's the only real main difference. So whatever shop you get it done at, they're gonna have to line up the shock absorber to sit here directly under the VIN number, as you see it sitting right across there, okay, lined up with the fuel filter, just sitting right there, okay, running across and going down. Now when you get the suspension from a 2011 or 10 and up, that whole setup is going to be ready for the shock absorber to be sitting here. But your 05 to 2010 Cascadia, this shock absorber on the driver's side sat there. So if you look on the other side, the shock absorber sat here. This is the proper place for it. This was never moved back or anything. This is where it sat, and it lined up perfectly with the new suspension put in. Okay, this is all from that one piece from that Cascadia that I got, the brakes, drums, everything, the whole entire unit was picked up and basically just thrown right in. Just new U-bolts were thrown in, and then whatever little stuff that they saw needed to be upgraded or changed or swapped out, but it really wasn't much because it was a much newer truck. So the brakes and everything came with it, everything, all one whole unit. Picked up a U-Haul, threw it in there, back of my truck, and threw it in. Okay, so everything bolted on pretty good. The main thing was that shock absorber, which they had to configured to put in place for it to sit here, because obviously it couldn't be at any angle sitting over here, but everything else lines up properly. Okay, this was a smaller gearbox that was put in, so spacers had to been added to be put together. That might be an issue depending on where you get it from, because some are bigger, some are smaller. I had a big one, it fit perfectly, but guess what? When they put it in, the gearbox was no good. It had little pieces of metal in it when they drained the oil out and power steering fluid, and it pretty much said, hey, this shit is shot. So got another one. This one was a little smaller than the one that I originally had, and so they had to make spacers because it was sitting too close to the frame and it wasn't lining up properly with everything else. So they just added some spacers to get it to come out so that everything lined up perfectly. I've been driving this for about 2 weeks now, and I love it. You know, unfortunately, again, there's a little leak with this one, but I think it's just a drain plug, which is probably stripped, which is leaking. You can see a little bit of oil down under here, and there's a little bit of a stain, and I've only been here 10 minutes. But other than that, and you can see some of the residue from driving, that's from it leaking over there. But the conversion is really simple. The whole suspension is being ripped out. Okay, you must get the drive shaft. Okay, the drive shaft, but the steering shaft, you got to get that. You're gonna also have to get new torque bolts, because when they take it out from the other one and try to put it back in, it's not gonna work. It's just gonna keep spinning. So that's 2 right there, and you know, a few little odds and ends from whatever wasn't good with the previous one. New U-bolts definitely gonna be thrown in. You might want to get new shocks. The shocks that this came with was the original ones from the suspension, and I had just bought new shocks because I did everything. I changed the shocks, I changed the kingpins in here, I had changed the steering shaft, I changed, I went through 9 set of tires in a year. What else got done? The tie rods got changed, and all that was shit. That was a whole waste of money. I think I've probably spent somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000 just in those parts alone. The tires alone run me about another $2,000 to $3,000 for the year doing that. And I got the suspension put in, and automatically I saw a difference just in how easier it was to turn. The feel, it was definitely a new experience. I had to get a little bit used to it because there was a lot more feedback from it than originally with the rack of pinion. And I went and got the wheel alignment done, and the place that I got done at Stingle Brothers in PA loved it, because they did the rack of pinion. They told me to get it ripped out. They told me about the recall, and I just went and fixed everything else besides the rack of pinion, and that didn't work. They did a wheel alignment before for me, and the steering was off. My steering wheel was turned from, let's say, from 9 to 3. It turned from 6 to 12. That's pretty much how far my steering had turned over the year that it was off by. And just little by little, just didn't really notice it until I would take it in for service. Like, hey, can you straighten out my wheel? Can you straighten out my wheel? Can you straighten out my wheel? And it would just slowly just work its way back. The rack of pinion was just shot. And that rack of pinion that was already changed a year prior to me getting the truck. So the tires now, actually, this tire was burning unevenly, and now it's actually corrected itself, and the other tire stopped burning. So I'm gonna have to change that tire soon. But as fast as it was burning, I don't have to change it right away. I think I've put on maybe 2,000 miles on that tire, and you see how it looked. And this one maybe has, by the time that tire on the passenger side was burnt up, this one had, let's say, 500 miles, and it was already showing wear and tear badly on it. It was uneven on the side. I could feel the ridges right here raised up. So that's it. Any questions or anything, hit me, leave a comment below. But it's a very simple job, man. You know, it's just complete system rip out, suspension completely taken out. The main guy is the shock absorber right here. That shock absorber needs to be set up back here by the VIN number, aligned up with the fuel filter to line up with the way the suspension is, because 2005, 2009 is sitting here, and 11, 10, and 15, they sit back here. And I've checked 4, 5, 6 of them, and they all sit back there. And as soon as I brought it into my shop, that's the first thing I told them. I said, hey, everything else is going to swap in real easy except for the shock absorber. You're going to have to make holes in the frame to get it to bolt on in that proper space. And, you know, they said they wouldn't have to do it. And then when they got everything else in, they said, yeah, we did need to do that. And I said, yeah, I told you. Because that's the only real difference. And I see a huge difference in driving this truck. So any questions, hit me up, and whatever I can send out to you guys, let you know. Because there's no video out there about how to put the suspension in. And it's really just a simple bolt-in, you know. And that's it. It's really fucking simple. You know, it's not as hard as it sounds. And just make sure your gearboxes are good. And you know, new bolts and some shocks, whatever, you know, stuff you need. You know, the shop's gonna always try to get you to put some new shit in. And just you know, find a good quality one. All right, thanks, bye.